Kids Need Structure, TED Talk speech by Colin Powell, 2012. I want to talk about young people and structure. This was last Wednesday afternoon at a school in Brooklyn, New York, at Cristo Rey High School, run by the Jesuits. And I was talking to this group of students, and take a look at them. And there are about 300 kids in this school, and the school's been going now for 4 years, and they're about to graduate their first class. 22 people are graduating, and all 22 are going to college. They all come from homes where there is, for the most part, just one person in the home, usually the mother or the grandmother, and that's it. And they come here for their education and for their structure. He does look good, because kids need structure. And the trick I play in all of my school appearances is that when I get through with my little homily to the kids, I then invite them to ask questions. And when they raise their hands, I say, "Come up!" And I make them come up and stand in front of me. I make them stand at attention like a soldier. Put your arms straight down at your side. Look up. Open your eyes. Stare straight ahead. And speak out your question loudly so everybody can hear. No slouching. No pants hanging down. None of that stuff. And this young man, his last name Cruz. He loved it. That's all over his Facebook page and it's gone viral. Some people think I'm being unkind to this kid. No, we're having a little fun. But anyway, it's a game I play, and it comes obviously from my military experience, because for the majority of my adult life, I worked with young kids, teenagers with guns, I call them. And we would bring them into the army, and the first thing we would do is to put them in an environment of structure, put them in ranks, make them all wear the same clothes, cut all their hair off so they look alike, make sure that they are standing in ranks. We teach them how to go right face, left face, so they can obey instructions and know the consequences for not obeying instructions. It gives them structure. And then we introduce them to somebody who they come to hate immediately, the drill sergeant. And they hate him. And the drill sergeant starts screaming at them and telling them to do all kinds of awful things. But then the most amazing thing happens over time. Once that structure is developed, once they understand the reason for something, once they understand, "Mama ain't here, son. I'm your worst nightmare. I'm your daddy and your mama. And that's just the way it is. You got that, son?" Yeah, and then when I ask you a question, there are only three possible answers. Yes, sir, no, sir, and no excuse, sir. Don't start telling me why you didn't do something. It's yes, sir, no, sir, no excuse, sir. You didn't shave, but sir... No, don't tell me how often you scraped your face this morning. I'm telling you, you didn't shave. No excuse, sir. Attaboy, you're learning fast. But you'd be amazed at what you can do with them once you put them in that structure. In 18 weeks, they have a skill. They are mature. And you know what they come to admire? The drill sergeant. And they never forget the drill sergeant. They come to respect him. And so we need more of this kind of structure and respect in the lives of our children. I spend a lot of time with youth groups, and I say to people, when does the education process begin? We're always talking about it. Let's fix the schools. Let's do more for our teachers. Let's put more computers in our schools. Let's get it all online. That isn't the whole answer. It's part of the answer, but the real answer begins with bringing a child to the school with structure in that child's heart and soul to begin with. When does the learning process begin? Does it begin in first grade? No. It begins the first time a child in a mother's arms looks up at the mother and says, "Oh, this must be my mother. She's the one who feeds me. Oh yeah, when I don't feel so good down there, she takes care of me. It's her language I will learn." And at that moment, they shut out all the other languages that they could be learning at that age. But by 3 months, that's her. And if the person doing it, whether it's the mother or the grandmother, whoever's doing it, that is when the education process begins. That's when language begins. That's when love begins. That's when structure begins. That's when you start to imprint on the child that you are special. You are different from every other child in the world, and we're going to read to you. A child who has not been read to is in danger when that child gets to school. A child who doesn't know his or her colors, or doesn't know how to tell time, doesn't know how to tie shoes, doesn't know how to do these things, and doesn't know how to do something that goes by a word that was drilled into me as a kid, mind. Mind your manners, mind your adults, mind what you're saying. This is the way children are raised properly. And I watched my own young grandchildren now come along, and they're much to the distress of my children. They are acting just like we did. You know? You imprint them. And that's what you have to do to prepare children for education and for school. And I'm working at all the energy I have to sort of communicate this message that we need preschool. We need Head Start. We need parental care. The education process begins even before the child is born. And if you don't do that, you're going to have difficulty. And we are having difficulty in so many of our communities and so many of our schools where kids are coming to the first grade and their eyes are blazing. They've got their little knapsacks on and they're ready to go. And then they realize they're not like the other first graders who know books, have been read to, can do their alphabet. And by the third grade, the kids who didn't have that structure and minding in the beginning start to realize they're behind. And what do? They act it out. They act it out and they're on their way to jail or they're on their way to being dropouts. It's predictable. If you're not at the right reading level at third grade, you are a candidate for jail at age 18. And we have the highest incarceration rates because we're not getting our kids the proper start in life.